Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So I want to do a relatively quick little video here this morning to talk about Cybertruck, obviously, since that's in the image there, and also to talk about some things that Elon Musk discussed at his Fremont meeting last night when he was discussing things with, I think it was an all-hands meeting at the Fremont factory, probably to bump up morale a little bit. You know, there's been some issues around the 10% layoffs for salaried employees and some other things going on, and there's going to be a very large end of quarter push, which is what most of I'm going to talk about today is going to be about. So anyway, I think you kind of wanted to bump up a little morale. You know, there may be some people who are a little down, stock is down, a lot of work, end of quarter stuff happening. So it's probably some very, very tired folks, and he was probably trying to rally the troops a bit. So anyway, but first of all, let's talk about the Cybertruck. So this was at Mossy Oak. There's a new power plant being, I think, not unveiled, but what do you call it? Ribbon cutting. Essentially, it's open now. And they brought the Cybertruck along for part of the ceremonies. So it's a new version, obviously, and there's a couple of relatively large differences that are important. First of all, of course, you will notice that the side view mirrors are now on the Cybertruck, which is, you know, sad. Apparently, it's going to be very, very easy to remove them, but at the same time, I don't know about removing the side mirrors because unless they have a camera solution, maybe that little thing that's sticking out sideways will have a camera in the back. I know that they had that, I think, as long ago as the Model S, I believe. They had side view cameras, but the United States government, NHTSA, won't allow them to do that. They have to have physical side view mirrors. Anyway, that's annoying, but such is life. So anyway, it's got side view mirrors. It's also got this interesting little place here, and it's hard to tell from the outside as much, but this is actually, you can kind of tell from over here, there's a little triangle of glass in the front of the A-pillar now, which is kind of intriguing. So we'll see what that, you know, what happens with that. The really fascinating part here is the windshield wiper. This is this is going to be the problem that ate, you know, the Cybertruck, is the stupid windshield wiper. So first of all, there used to be no windshield wiper at all when they had the first prototype. A more recent prototype had a windshield wiper that was all the way up to the top up here, and so it would sweep across, but it was just kind of hideously large. And this one, nobody has seen exactly, but I've got a couple of different views, but people are thinking it's like a switchblade. So basically it's like extra thick, and when it's used, it'll pop open. So it'll extend to, you know, if you take like double this, it'd be up to about here. So around where the old one used to be, but the, you know, the large one, but in two pieces instead of one, so it'll kind of go and open up and then continue to wipe. And let me take a look over here. You can see it over from this angle as well. You can also see that front panel of glass as well. So relatively interesting. If it does do that, if it ends up being a switchblade thing where it pops up, I guess that makes it a little bit better. Elon had wanted to hide it underneath this part right here where it would actually tuck underneath the sort of frunk area, but that increases a lot of complexity because you're gonna have to build a little motor in to lift it and drop it back down again. All sorts of issues with that. So maybe this will be the production version, but maybe not as well. One doesn't know. But also, speaking of that, I have from Kevin Smith, who was paying attention to the talk last night. Thank you for that. He said there's an update that the Cybertruck line construction has started. So this would be at the Austin factory, obviously not at Fremont, where they're going to be building the Cybertruck. The line construction started, which means that they're actually starting to build the mass production line, which means that they hopefully have most of the design technology issues worked out. So that'll be really, really interesting to see. That's actually a huge update. So that, sorry, forgot to like make my face reappear here. Anyway, so that'll be a huge update because that means that they're actually getting started with doing production now. They're really thinking about how to ramp up production. Idra has a very large gigapress that Elon Musk has confirmed will be used for Cybertruck. It's unclear exactly how this is all going to work because Cybertruck has an exoskeleton made out of stainless steel, but I guess it still needs an undercarriage, you know, to hold up everything. So it may go back to the more like skateboard type of idea where you have a front and a rear section, an integrated structural battery pack, and then you put all the stainless steel on top of that. We will have to see how things go in the future. But anyway, Good news about the construction line. Also, CCS chargers will be enabled at Tesla's Supercharger locations. So that's interesting to know. I hate the CCS standard. It's that really, really big standard. It's basically two standards smashed into one, because I think it actually stands for combined something. Anyway, a combined charging solution, maybe that's what it stands for. But anyways, it literally is two different charging solutions smashed on top of each other. So it's very annoying, that solution. But anyway, such is life. Hopefully they won't change the Tesla Supercharger, connector, which is really nice and elegant and small, but they'll just make an adapter for it for CCS chargers. Anyway, so that's interesting that will be available to the outside world. It will be a good for the public. I'm not as enthusiastic about it as a Tesla owner because it means more potential competition, but there are so many supercharging stations now from doing road trips recently. It's been just amazing to see them. Also confirmed 100,000 full self-driving users, not 200,000, which could have been misinterpreted. So anyway, interesting information about that. So let's turn now to this article from Electric. And I'll put a link to that in the description, of course. Elon Musk told Tesla employees to expect a nutty end-of-quarter delivery wave this quarter at a new company-wide meeting. That would be the one that I'm talking about, have been talking about. The automaker has been trying to move away from quarterly delivery waves, but special circumstances, i.e. the Shanghai factory shutdown due to the zero COVID policy in China, have made one inevitable at the end of this quarter, and that's just a few weeks away now because that's the end of June. So Tesla has been known to have intense end-of-quarter delivery pushes due to its distribution system, which is very different from other automakers that use third-party dealerships, as we all know about. So basically, the problem is that, it's a good thing for us consumers, is that they sell the car directly to the consumer. So Tesla sells me a vehicle. I pay Tesla for the vehicle, or I finance it through a bank and the bank pays Tesla. But basically, until that transaction has been taken account of, Tesla is still responsible for the vehicle. So what happens is, of course, when you have to do quarterly reporting, at the end of the quarter, let's say you have 20,000 vehicles that haven't been sold. They've been manufactured, but they're in transit, or they're sitting at Fremont or Shanghai or wherever they happen to be. They're just sitting there, or they're even on a truck, or they're at the place, the showroom, but the paperwork just hasn't been signed. All of those circumstances mean that at the end of the quarter, Tesla has to count those off. So those are actually expenses. Those are things that Tesla owns. They're, assets that they have to declare as losses for the quarter. It makes their quarter look really, really bad. So it's always for the best if they can sell as many vehicles as possible prior to the end of the quarter and have basically no cars in inventory. So they build inventory, and then try to get rid of it all at the end of the quarter, and then do the same thing quarter after quarter. It's a real big problem. I've talked to Tesla employees who work in sales, and it's exhausting for them to do this. Every 3 months they have to go back through this whole process again. So anyway, it's a problematic situation, and Elon has been stating that they're trying to get away from this. But the problem is that, this quarter, because of the COVID shutdowns and the fact that Shanghai's production has been completely disturbed, and they weren't able to export as many vehicles at the beginning of the quarter as they usually expect to, and they haven't made as many. They've got all sorts of problems. So they're going to be back to this old sort of style, like really, really big wave. So anyway, that's the basic problem that's going on here. And so increases the cost and does everything to get things to consumers, right? So basically, more recently, Elon has been saying to his employees, you can start worrying more about expenses. Don't spend all the money. Just don't worry about if all the cars get sold by the end of the quarter or not. It'll just work out over time, because eventually, the next quarter, the car will get sold, and so it will come off the books, and so it'll all work out in the end. But this one has been significantly more challenging and more difficult. And so we've got, basically somebody said, when is this all going to end, please, probably. and Elon responded, this has been a challenge since late 2008. There always seems to be something that happens and causes the end of the quarter to be nutty, and this quarter will not be an exception, mostly because we had this huge challenge with the COVID restrictions in Shanghai. It basically shut down the Shanghai factory for much of the early part of the quarter. It is only now getting back to full production. It's going to be pretty intense this quarter. right? So he did say next after that unless something new comes up, that things should settle out by the September quarter. So September 30th. At that quarter, things should be a little bit more reduced in terms of challenge and craziness. But anyway, end of June for all of you Tesla employees, I feel bad for you because it's going to be pretty crazy working on all of this stuff to get to the end of the quarter. But hopefully, everybody has always stepped up in the past and been champs and made things work. Elon did reiterate that he thinks they could possibly get to 300,000 vehicles delivered. Oh gosh, I don't recall the number exactly, but it was approximately 310,000 that were delivered in the quarter one of 2022. So they'll be a little bit behind, but they might actually be pretty close, which would be remarkable considering that Giga Shanghai has been was down for basically a month and is only now getting back to full production. So if they do that, it would be almost a miracle that they were able to pull that off. All right. So anyway, there's some updates on the Cybertruck and on delivery cycles and things like that. I hope you all are having a lovely day. Thank you again, as always, to my patrons on Patreon. I am going to do the VW video very, very shortly, but today I was busy with other things. So anyway, that will happen. In the meantime, everybody have a lovely Thursday, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.